Thank you, Larry. Okay, this is level 3, lesson 2, session 2. I got that right the first time. I think that's the first time in the history of all 3 levels. Wow, progress, praise the Lord. I want to just continue where we left off in the previous session, and I'll just try to move a little faster through it so we can get on to the next session effectively. We were talking about personal sharing, and just the thing about personal sharing is be personal, be authentic, but then again, be careful not to overshare. You don't want to dominate the conversation. People love to talk about themselves. And a good coach or counselor understands that part of the therapy in helping people, no matter which field you're in, or if you're doing a little bit of both, is giving them an opportunity to speak out what's in them. And oftentimes they will give you the very topic or the very solution and answers that you just simply mirror or reflect back to them in, okay, so what you were saying is you feel God saying this and this and this. It's amazing how people, it comes out of their mouth and it doesn't dawn on them. They came in with the answers. That's really all we're looking for as a coach. Let them tell us what they're to do, where they're to go and how they want to get there, and then we help them accomplish it. Moving down to the next thing, talking about habits. Habits can be good or habits can be bad. There's verbal habits, and we all have them. And even the best speakers can deal with some of their verbal habits or their physical habits, get them under control and sort of get them out of the picture. But if we aren't careful, before long, they start creeping back into our conversation or into our mannerisms and behavior. It's easy. One of the biggest things that I have this problem occasionally, sometimes more than others, and I notice that a lot of speakers have this. We want to say, we make a statement, then we go, And I really thought about that one time. Why do I do that? And why do people do that when they're speaking? And it's because we're feeling a little bit insecure. We're feeling like either they don't understand or they don't agree or something. And so we're not getting the feedback that we need for whatever reason. It's our own insecurities. It's not the auditist's fault. So we start trying to draw feedback out of them by saying, some preachers will say, can I get an amen? Well, really what they're saying is give me some feedback, Because, see what I just did? I said, after I said that. And it's like it's a habit that comes out. And so we need to work on those things. Be conscious. Do you know you can even practice in front of a mirror or with a tape recorder, listen to yourself speaking, and you'll pick up on things you don't realize. Fortunately, many times the hearer doesn't pick up on a lot of our habits and things we do. I had this has been quite a while ago, back when we pastored in East Texas. I had one of my deacon ladies tell me one time, she was helping with the editing for our television ministry, and she told me, precious lady, she's with the Lord now, but her name's Brenda. She told me, she says, you and Pastor Curtis, that was my assistant pastor, she says, y'all don't realize it, but both of y'all have got some gross habits when you're speaking. And I said, what are you talking about? She says, both of y'all seem to have sinus problems. And she said, you don't realize it, but she says, but when we're back here and I'm helping Sherry edit, she says, y'all are sucking snot and gagging and doing all kinds of things when you're up there speaking. And you're not conscious of it, but sometimes other people pick up on it, and it's kind of disruptive and uncomfortable. There again, a lot of times, a whole house full of people won't even notice stuff, that's on the fortunate side. I'll tell you what's fun to do sometime. Video yourself or record yourself, and then take it to YouTube and download it, and then go over to the right and click on transcript. And YouTube will make a transcript of what you say, word for word. Everything that's in your message. And it puts all the ahs, all the uhs, and it's like, I'm looking at myself sometimes and go, holy cow, for every 10 sounds I make, I'm getting about one thing worth listening to out. I'm not even realizing it. And so, but that kind of helps you kind of get an idea of how to be more conscious of how you're speaking. I know for me, I really need to work on this area. Physical habits. Pastor David Smith, who I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, he pastored back in the 80s over in Trinity. He actually, I think, sort of started that church, and the church was, running 4,000, and of course he had some personal issues, and he ended up getting out of the ministry for a while, and he ended up pastoring another smaller church event, after years. God restored him. Anyway, fantastic teacher and preacher. Loved him. The church was one of the first mega churches in Dallas in the early 80s while we were going to Bible college. It just exploded in Cedar Hill, and it's still one of the big churches in the Metroplex now. But Pastor Smith, we attended church there while we were going to college for a little while at one point, and just loved his teaching and preaching. And he was a young man at that time, probably around 30 years old, I would guess. And the church was, maybe running 1,500 at that time. It got up to over 4,000. I think it runs more than that now. But it was about that size. And all of a sudden, I don't know why, for the first time after sitting and listening and watching him preach for times and times, I don't know how many times, just weeks after weeks, and just loved it. I noticed for the first time he had a nervous jerk. And he would be preaching and like this. He'd go, and his whole mouth would distort, and he'd go like that to that same side. And he'd just be preaching it, the glory of the Lord, and you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I'm like, holy cow, this is driving me crazy. It's like, once I saw it, I never noticed it. Once I saw it, I would have to go like this, because it was so distracting. I don't know if he knew it or not, but sometimes it's helpful to look at ourselves on a video and say, what am I doing that's bothering people, or that could be distracting and take away from my professional appearance. Social habits. Don't click your teeth. I've heard myself doing that on video, where I would make a statement and then kind of go, don't even realize I'm doing it. And why I'm doing it, I don't know. But you don't want to click your teeth. You sure don't want to spit. Sometimes maybe it's an accident, but you don't want to pick up a spitting habit. You ever been around somebody that's all the time spitting? I've seen people spit in my living room. And I hope there wasn't any really content to it, but I think it was more habitual. I'm talking about one of my sons. It's more habitual, I think, but he's just like that. And I'm like, would you quit? But these things can be distractive, and we're not even aware we're doing it. Playing with change in your pocket while you're up front speaking is very unprofessional. They may hear it, they may not. But even just the motions, you're playing with change, playing with your keys. But a lot of times you can hear it. Of course, not many people except Keith have change these days in their pocket. But anyway, just little things. You can come up with your own ideas. I'm going to hurry here. Let's see. Be respectful to other people, and manners are very critical in all situations. So just keeping these things in mind. I wanted to mention here one new problem we've seen in the last 10 or 15 years is things with technology. Talking about business etiquette. I know that young people are trying to influence us old people that technology is a higher power and reigns supreme over any good business etiquette or style or mannerism because it is the god of technology. But I want to say that from a business etiquette position, from a professional position, you need to be really conscious of that. Because if you're coaching someone and they're talking and they're telling you the most sincere thing and they're paying you money and you're down here doing what we all do, I can't find my phone, but we're down here and we're checking our mail, flipping through Facebook. Everybody does it, and it is so rude. It is so rude and it's so unprofessional. What you want to do when someone's paying for your time, turn that phone over. Turn off the ringer. I had to do this yesterday. We had a meeting with a couple that's right now preparing 12 Spanish courses for integrity. They're missionaries. We had them out at the church, Adam and Jen, young couple, 15 years ago probably. And they went to Mexico. They went to Peru. They've been down there for 10 years. And so now he's going to he's helping me to have something to offer to the Hispanics. So the first thing we sat down and phone rang, because we have a ministry business and people call all the time. And I finished that call. We apologized. I took my phone, I turned the ringer off, I turned it over and laid it down so that the rest of our lunch together could be appropriate, It is so rude. It's frustrating when you've got a limited amount of time and somebody keeps checking their mail and taking phone calls. And it's different if we're standing in the foyer talking, we're casual. But even people like, when I have realized, not so much in our crowd because we're a small crowd, but most large crowds, half the people are not even watching the speaker. They may be listening to them, but they're not paying attention. They're not even showing the interest. They're all down here on their phone. I don't know what they're doing, texting. But that is so disrespectful to the person who's speaking. And don't think they don't see you. They do. And it's really, it just comes across disrespectful. Like, what am I up here for, Because they're out there playing games on their phone, they're video emailing. I've seen people in church. I've sat behind people in church and watched them have an ongoing conversation. Well, I don't know who it was, but it's back, if you see it, ding, ding, ding. They're going back and forth. There's no way on earth that they were able to do that and listen to the preaching. But they somehow have come up with this idea that what this phone conversation is about is more important than what God has to say to them this morning or that night or whatever at that time. And so, but I think from the perspective of being a coach or whatever, it's very disrespectful. And it's very off-putting to people. So I'm just saying, you want to be conscious of it if you want people to take you serious. Then you want to show yourself as a professional and show them the credibility. I'll tell a personal story here real quick. Back when I was I don't know if it was my first, second, third, fourth, I don't know, year down at Sagu as a young Bible college student, there's this ongoing campus, and apparently it was a traditional mindset. Tuesday was missions day in chapel, so they always had a missionary. And the joke around campus and the ongoing tradition is that all the students sleep on Tuesdays in chapel because, quote, all missionaries are boring. Okay. The fact is they weren't all boring. They were really, a lot of times, really good. But there were some that, just like there were some other weekdays of the week on chapel that were boring. But you look around the chapel, and half the students would be asleep on Tuesdays. It was almost like it was part of the curriculum, And so, and it was the funniest thing. The Lord started dealing with me personal. I never said anything to anybody else, but He started dealing with me personal. And I knew it was the Lord because I wouldn't have thought of it. But He just said, one day you're going to get out of here, and you're going to be speaking, and you're going to be preaching, and you're going to want people to stay awake and listen to you. And He says, and basically the Lord just put it in my heart that, you're going to reap what you sow. So if you will learn to get something out of what anybody says and pay attention and give them the respect and the honor due them, then God says, then I'll see that that's for you. Well, I'm sure that I have reaped the benefits of that choice to do better, and to put forth that effort. But that's so true. I've noticed that going to conferences of all kinds, it's amazing how that many times the speakers of the conference, both ministers and other secular professions, they'll be on the agenda to speak. They don't come to any other session except their session. Yes, they're in town for the whole conference. Yes, the host is paying them a hotel bill, they're feeding them all their meals, and the only time they show up at the conference is when they're scheduled to speak, and they're usually right on time and they leave immediately after. That is very disrespectful to the host and to the other members of the conference who paid, if they paid to be there or whatever, because it says, I'm really not interested in you. I'm interested in me. I'm here for what I can get out of it. So why am I telling this to you and you guys here? Because you want to be a true professional. You want to be a person who really takes seriously what you have in order to give to others, to help others. And that's really important. I've had some who would come to the other conference meetings, but they would sit on the farthest seat in the back and play with their telephone the whole time, never look up or read a book. I've seen speakers prepare their whole message that they were going to speak at the next session and not even listen to the guy who's speaking now. Just stuff like that. And we can have all the reasons in the world to justify when we do things like that, but there's something we have to remember. Even though occasionally people will say it doesn't matter what people think about you or what people think about what's happening, what's important is what's in your heart. I agree with that halfway. It does matter what people think, because people get an impression based upon what they interpret your behavior as. They honestly feel like that you are a person of character, integrity. They make a judgment, right or wrong, they're going to make a judgment based on what you do and what they see. And it's going to impact how they receive you when you get up. If I see someone who we all go to, let's say, a camp meeting or something, and the only time this preacher shows up is when he's speaking, and the rest of the time he's out around the campgrounds doing things, and everybody else is in the auditorium. When he gets up to speak, I'm going to struggle getting everything I need to get from him, because I feel like he's not one of us. He just came here, to do his thing. But if he gets relational, if he builds relationships throughout the week, and he participates in the conferences, and he communicates that he really likes what the others are saying, it's not a competitive thing to him. Boy, I feel like, what, we're all working toward the same thing, and we're all growing in this. So these are just thoughts to keep in mind, thoughts of how to be professional. Always look professional, and always try to bring something of value to those people that you are speaking to or that you are coaching. Science, listen to this, science has shown and proven that multitasking is a myth. Did you get that? Multitasking is a myth. You can only focus on one thing at a time, they've proven. So people will say, I'm multitasking. I can read my phone and answer and do text while I'm driving down the road. Well, there's a whole lot of dead people who disagree with that. Hello. A whole lot of injured people who disagree with that. People will say, well, I can do this while you're doing that too, or I can watch the children, and I can mow the grass, and I can answer the phone. You just can't do it. You can only focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking is a myth. That's why if you have business corporations and stuff, if they haven't caught hold of this, need to. These employees that are, this is a terrible problem today in among a lot of businesses and corporations. People want that telephone, they think it's attached to them permanently. And they want their telephone so they can take every phone call when they're working, I'm not talking business related. I'm not talking emergency phone calls. I'm talking about they're talking to their boyfriend. They're talking to their friend on the other side of town. They're talking all through the day. They got a head plug in their ear, and they're talking, and the customer don't know if they're talking to you or talking to somebody on the phone, and then they'll put a sign up that says you can't talk on the phone while you're checking out, but the cashier's talking on the phone. Or listen to music. Well, I'm listening to music, and I can multitask better, they say. No. They are wrong, and you are being ripped off, because they are not as effective as they should be if there's something else distracting them. That's so important right there. Kids will say, well, I did it when I was a kid. I'm watching TV, but I'm doing my homework. Well, you're watching some TV, and then you're doing your homework. And then you're watching some TV, and then you're doing your homework. You are not capable of doing both at the same time effectively. And so that's important for us to remember, too, is that we don't become, a bad example of what we're trying to teach other people to do. But so focus on what we need. Your business image, your website, your photos, business cards and brochures, all these things are essential today if you're going to be an effective professional, a coach, or something like that. You absolutely have to have a website. Today, the mindset is if you don't have a website, you do not exist. Because most people today The first place they're going to go to look for someone who is a professional coach, a professional, whatever you're a professional at, they're going to go first, and they're going to go to the internet, and they're going to search for you. And if you don't have a website, and if you want to not only have a website, but you want to be sure that you get listed with Google and Yelp and some of those different types of businesses you can list for free, so that it helps to rate you as far as in order when you come up, but also they will a lot of times they'll put a little ad over here for you, but you don't have to pay for it. It's free, and it helps people find you. You do not exist today if you don't have a website. You can say, well, and this is true about Integrity Seminary. Our business, 99% comes from word of mouth, but even the word of mouth finds out how to get to us by going to the internet. And we actually do have quite a few people who contact us or visit our website, several hundreds every month that are from all over the world. And so you've got to have a website. And it doesn't have to be real complicated. It doesn't have to be real flashy. It doesn't have to be real long or big, exhaustive. But you need to be present on the internet and have a website. And it needs to be done professionally. Be leery of a lot of these companies that advertise, we host a website platform, we provide the resources to build your own. I do build my own, and even though it's acceptable, it's not as professional as I would like for it to be. Most of the time we'll say I can't afford it. It's a little different though. Our website is huge, and it would cost us tons of money to pay a company. But for most professionals like coaches, you just need one page. And you need it to be so sharp. And most companies are that way. You don't need all the explanations and options and all this stuff that costs money. You just need a really clean, sharp, one-page website that will communicate the pertinent information, give them your contacts, all your different contacts, and that will help them get a feel of what quality of business or coach or ministry you are. And they will go from there to reach out to you because they're impressed. You probably are like me. I'll tell you, most people are like me. When I'm searching for something, if I go to a website that looks like a 2-year-old did it, I go on to the next one on the internet. If I go to a website that's got a bunch of misspelled words in it, before long I start thinking, this represents to me the quality of what they do. Not, and even though I'm the worst speller in the world, but I try hard to find Laurie, other people to edit. And here's the amazing thing. We have stuff that's been edited 3 and 4 times, and somebody inevitably will still find something wrong. It's like, how many eyes do you need? Well, you just keep improving, because it says something to people about the quality of person you are and the kind of work you do. Professional photos are important. I love Dr. Robert Johnson. He's awesome. But to this very day, he still uses a photo. I know it's over 30 years old now, of him and his precious wife, Floydine. He's got blonde hair. His hair ain't been blonde in 30 years. You know what I'm saying? And he's got glasses. Remember in the 80s, those big old square glasses? His glasses are like this. Half his face is in his glasses. Well, it's really a nice, handsome photo, but it's out of style, and it just doesn't really communicate what really is relevant today. So we just need to think about things like, I'm guilty of the same thing. And some photos are just there because everything that goes on the internet stays forever, So that's another issue. Be careful what you put on there. But we need to update, and we need to be professional. Printed materials need to be done well. Promotional materials need to be done well. Social media. One bad thing on social media will follow you the rest of your life. A picture that shouldn't have been put on there, a statement, an argument with somebody. You spent years building over, just one comment or something like that. Pretty much for me, that's why I don't comment a whole lot. Most of what I do is I just post, making integrity known, that's 99% of mine. Occasionally I'll post my family or something like that. But and there's probably something on there I wish I wouldn't have put on there somewhere back there. But anyway, I try to be careful because I think it's important.